Well, now I'm going to develop our understanding of trigonometry. To start with, have a go at finding the missing sides of these triangles using what we did last time. When you're ready for the answers, press play. Okay, let's go to the answers here. So firstly, let's label the triangle. We have the hypotenuse, the opposite, and the adjacent. We want the opposite, and we have the hypotenuse, so I'm going to use sine. Sine of 40 degrees equals opposite, which is W over hypotenuse 16. I'm going to multiply both sides by 16. So W is equal to 16 sine 40. And if I put it into my calculator, I should get about 8 point something. 16 sine 40. Oh, no, 10.28, so 10.28 centimeters. In the second question, we have hypotenuse 6, and the opposite is not labeled, and the adjacent is x. So this time we have the adjacent, and we want the adjacent, and we have the hypotenuse, so we use cosine. Cosine 45 degrees equals the adjacent, which is x, over the hypotenuse of 6. I multiply both sides by 6, you get x equals 6 cos 45. So to work out x, we do 6 times cos 45, which is 4.24 centimeters. We look at the last one. If I label it hypotenuse, opposite, and adjacent, sine of 60 is going to be y, sorry, not sine. So this time we have the adjacent, and we want the opposite, so I'm going to use tan. Tan of 60 equals opposite over adjacent. So y is going to be 2 tan 60, which I think is about 1.7. 2 tan 60 is, nope, 3.46. So these should be our answers to the first questions. Very often we need to rearrange our equations to find certain missing sides. So we start off, less is more. We begin by labeling the right angle triangle, hypotenuse, opposite, and adjacent. And what I'm going to do now is just tick off what we have and what we want. I want the adjacent and I have the opposite, so I'm going to tick off. So first of all, let me write down SOHCAHTOA. SOHCAHTOA. Now we have the adjacent, so I'm ticking off the A's, and we have the opposite, so I'll tick off the O's. Tan has been ticked twice, so we need to use tan. So tan of 55 equals the opposite, which is 8 over the adjacent, which I don't know, so I'll just call that A. Now I want to get A on its own. So the first thing I'm going to do is multiply both sides by A. So I have A times tan 55 equals 8. And then I'm going to divide both sides by tan 55, all of tan 55. We can't separate the 55 from the tan. So I have A is 8 over tan 55. And I can put it into my calculator as follows. 8 over tan 55 using the fraction button. Or I could do 8 divided by tan 55, close bracket. Either way, I get 5.60 as my answer, 5.60 centimeters. And just to show you, you could use the formula triangle for tan. So we know that tan 55 is going to be the opposite, which is 8, over the adjacent, which is just A. And essentially we want A, so we could cover up the A, and then we'd have to do 8 divided by tan 55, and it would be exactly the same. Here's another example to try, so I'm going to remember less is more. I'm going to label my triangle, hypotenuse, opposite, and adjacent. I want the hypotenuse this time, so I'm going to write down SOHCAHTOA. Right, so we want the hypotenuse, and we have the opposite, so we need to use sine. So I'm going to write sine of 47 degrees equals opposite, which is 4, over the hypotenuse, I don't know, so I'll call it h. I want h on its own, so I'm going to multiply both sides by h. So I have h sine 47 equals 4, and then I'm going to divide both sides by sine 47. So I have h equals 4 over sine 47, and putting that into our calculator as before will give you 5.47 centimeters. Finally, here's one more example to try. We would label the triangle hypotenuse. So in this case, we want the hypotenuse again. Opposite and adjacent. So Toa. Now I want the hypotenuse, so I'm going to tick that off. I have the adjacent, so it looks like I need to use cosine. Cosine of 72 degrees is adjacent, so the adjacent is 8 over the hypotenuse, which is h. I multiply both sides by h and divide both sides by cos 72. So I should get h is equal to 8 over cos 72, which should be 25.89 centimeters. Here are some questions for you to try. Please pause the video now and have a go at them, and when you're ready for the answers, press play. Here are the answers.